Hey y'all, quick note. While My Hero Academia was created for kids, this podcast is not safe for work or children. All trigger warnings and spoilers for each episode can be found at our website, myheroanalysis.com. Thanks for listening.
Okay, we good?
Yep.
Okay. Welcome y'all to our very first bonus episode. This is very exciting for us as we delve deeper into some of the themes that have popped up in a lot of our previous podcasts. This is completely our personal interpretation to some of the things. So y'all, if y'all have any input, please reach out to us. Also, just a heads up, the bonus episode will contain spoilers for different animes. Don't worry, it doesn't spoil the whole show, but it might just spoil the first episode.
Yeah, no major spoilers, I don't think.
No, it's just the first episode. I made sure to keep it that way. Now, we're going to start off with something that I particularly love, first episodes in anime, and how they tend to be well over the top. Now, this is not specific to just shonen anime. It is a pretty common trope seen throughout all different types of anime. So anime is very diverse, and most of them can be divided into four main categories: shonen, shinen, soju, and josei. Shonen and shinen tend to be geared mostly toward male viewers, whereas sojo and josei tend to be for more feminine audiences. In that, shonen and josei tend to be for mostly the older viewers past the high school age, whereas shonen and soju tend to be for the teenage group. Most of these can be subdivided into even more subcategories, of which there are 10 main subcategories. So in essence, there is literally an anime for anyone and everyone to enjoy.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a lot more than I realized. So if if I'm understanding it correctly, at least from a manga point of view, shonen and josei are like the new adult in traditional Western publishing that like kind of center on like young 20-year-olds, right?
Okay.
It tends to be more of like college, like you're into your professional life, like that sort of thing. They do tend to also have more sexual connotations almost.
Yeah. So definitely more like new adult.
Yeah, more new adult, more mature. I still quite love them.
Oh yeah.
But so My Hero Academia falls into the shonen category because it's an anime geared towards a younger male audience. However, it is anime that we as a group have absolutely fallen in love with. Just because an anime is geared towards a certain group does not mean we cannot enjoy it as well. And as we now know, the first episode of MHA has a lot going on. This is actually pretty standard with an anime. Anime wants to suck you in so that you can never leave.
They got us.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is why no matter the genre, the one thing they all have in common is how they bombard you with information and drama and epicness. Shonen in particular tends to lean more towards the shock factor. The same can be said for other types of anime, but it usually tends to be a different type of shock.
Okay.
Now, comparing My Hero to some of the other first episodes in popular anime, it is relatively mild in the shock factor. A lot of information and finding and world building happens in the very beginning of the anime. Sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, but you have the sense that you have to keep watching. Okay, peeps, here's where things get spicy. Side note, a coworker of mine keeps saying this and I love it, so now I'm going to use it.
I like it.
Like the phrase, like spicy as a descriptor outside of food.
Yeah,
I do too. I use it for when Fork gets feisty. He's a spicy boy.
So spice.
Just add a little spice.
Yep.
So when I say My Hero is relatively mild, I mean it. One particular anime that comes into mind where the first episode is pretty violent is Attack on Titan. AOT is probably one of the most brutal shonen starts I have ever seen. Still not so much shocking though, surprisingly enough. So Attack on Titan starts off relatively okay, and then all of a sudden people are dying, heads are being ripped off, including a certain main character's mother. Wyatt, definitely do not watch this.
Yeah, so like my emotional responses to the content in MHA definitely don't take them as like representative of how I react to things in general. Because like honestly, if it doesn't involve things wiggling around in ways that they shouldn't be, or like sexual assault, then I'm probably fine. And it's just my bad luck that my hero hit my main two no-nos like right off the bat.
Yeah. I mean, but I'm also, if I'm remembering the certain mother getting killed scene correctly, there's a lot of animated blood. And did you say that was also a thing you did not like?
Did I?
I don't know. I thought you did. Like,
I mean, I definitely think that not Aizawa, All Might's blood sprays are funny, but they don't squeak me out in the same way.
Okay, well then I'm just remembering it incorrectly.
Yeah, there are quite a bit of wiggly parts though, so still do not recommend watching it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's right off. If it's not supposed to be wiggling, I don't want it to wiggle.
Such a weird statement.
Oh, like worms are fine, snakes are fine.
Arms.
Stiff joints? No.
I mean, Titans do walk in a weird way.
Yeah, they walk really freaky. I don't like their walk or their faces, and I haven't even watched AOT, so. I'm
probably not going to watch it purely because it's too long.
Yeah, I started watching it from I started watching it from like the beginning, and I only got through the first season because if any of you are AOT, I'm sorry, but I hate the anime.
Oh!
We're setting fires with this bonus episode.
Yeah.
It's not her personal preference.
And that's okay.
I can watch a lot of different type of anime, and like I tried so hard to like it, but now I hate it. I absolutely positively hate it.
Is it you that likes Brotherhood?
Yes.
Okay, so you don't like the first one, but you like the new one.
I enjoy the first one, but Brotherhood is much better. It's much more towards the actual manga.
Okay.
So, but yeah, no. So I hate AOT. Sorry, listeners. If you love it, but you can come at me. It's fine. You can try to change my mind. It's not going to happen. But so this anime, for some reason, you can't stop watching after seeing something so brutal, and you want to keep watching to find out why are these monsters attacking and why they're there and why there's a wall to protect the people. So I kept watching in spite of the first episode, and I kept watching, and then I just was like, no, this ain't for me. I hate it.
But they hooked you for the first season.
Yeah, they hooked me for the first season. So another pretty brutal shonen start is Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba. Absolutely recommend watching this one. By the way, I love it. It's great. It hits you in the feels, but it's fine. It's a very sweet, it starts off with a very sweet happy brother protecting his family and just like, you know, being there. And it's this one big happy family. And then by the end of the episode, his entire family is murdered except one of his sisters who turns out to be a demon.
Oh, God.
You want to continue watching to see what is going to happen to this poor boy and his demon sister. Again, straight in the field right from the get-go. You want to keep watching it. However, not all shonen start off as brutal like this. These, some have a different type of shock factor. One such one is Jujutsu Kaisen. This kid wakes up just tied to a chair, and he's told straight off the bat by this super attractive man with his eyes covered that he has gotten the order to execute the kid. Oh, Gojo Sensei.
Is this the gray hair one with the blindfold or the other one with the weird glasses?
It's gray-haired slut man. It's canon, and I'm here for it.
Well, I'm intrigued just by gray hair slut man.
Yeah. Yeah, you You should write marketing copy for Jujutsu Kaisen.
It is canon, and if he appeared out of nowhere, I would totally be a slut for this man. Like, one night stand, great. That's all I need. Let's just keep it moving. But anyways, your first thought is why is this kid like essentially getting assassinated, and who is this person holding him hostage? And while you're pondering all of these things, immediately it goes back to a relatively normal happy-go-lucky scene with the same kid, and you're like getting whiplash, and then it hits you straight in the feels, and yet you have to keep watching because you have to know why this kid was tied up in the first place. Another great anime.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot.
It's Gojo Sensei. I also really like the other man though. Both of them are hot. Anyway,
Yeah.
So then there is the loud main character opening, which shows them as a baby, and then it goes into how they were either found and or raised. Black Clover is an example of this. The show starts off with two babies found at an orphanage, and how one of them was born without power in a world where everyone has power, and the other one was born with excess power. So this anime pulls you in wondering why they're so different and what will the underdog do to be stronger. It is a slower burn than some of the other animes I have watched, but I still wanted to watch just to see if both these boys would achieve their dreams.
This sounds familiar.
You've probably seen me watch it, so.
It sounds very similar to My Hero.
It does. And then there are shonen animes that start off with humor. Wyatt and Nicole are going to be very happy about this one. Haikyuu is classified under this category. It starts off super intense from a sports perspective. You get to see how this kid falls in love with volleyball and works hard at it. And Hinata is a little volleyball dork, and you just start to want to cheer for this little hyper kid. And then you see an angry emo boy, and you're wondering how these two are going to interact. They're both so into it, and you want to win, and you can't help but root for them.
Yeah, fully agree. Their ridiculous dynamic is definitely what made me keep watching.
Yeah, also agree. I could not understand why everyone was in love with a show about sports ball, but I am now in love with a show about sports ball. It's wonderful.
Yeah, the show made me care about and learn things about a sport. How very dare.
Haikyuu does that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. And then we go into the storytelling humor trope. Now, I will not accept any slander towards this particular anime because I love it. Fairy Tail gets a lot of shit as a bad anime, and all I can say is you are wrong. I am right. And I will accept no slander. Anywho, you get the storybook start at the episode, and then it goes into a guy getting motion sickness on a train and going off into the distance. And now, this anime is a bit controversial due to some of its women are a bit sexualized. But all the women can kick ass and have absolutely great personalities. Anywho, this shonen is a bit different in the fact that a lot of anime is told from a male perspective, whereas this one is told from the main female lead's perspective. And it is told well. That might be another reason why it gets a lot of hate, but I digress.
Yeah, that sounds very familiar.
So within this particular first episode, you see all sorts of antics happening, like the male lead and the cute cat friend bowing to the female lead, and then the female lead standing up to the bad guy and calling him scum to his face. It drags you in by trying to figure out what the male leads are going to do next. Now, this one does have some dark undertones, like the female lead being threatened or sold into slavery, but there's no explicit blood or killing that happens in this episode.
So it's like you said, a different kind of shock factor.
Yeah, different kind of shock factor. Well, this leads into my absolutely least favorite type of tropes of the first episodes. The over sexualization of female characters in general. There is a specific one that comes to mind that was just so terrible at the sexualization of a character that I had to stop watching. I'm pretty open to most anime because I've seen it all, and there's a lot out there that I'm okay with, but this one just made me want to vomit. Unfortunately, this is pretty common. Another one that falls under the shonen shonen category and does sexualize, pretty much everyone, is Food Wars.
Oh boy.
I did watch this one to completion because it's just a fun anime, but the first episode can smack you in the face if you go into it unprepared.
Yep.
So the first episode shows foodgasms in a lot of detail, but you get sucked into it because it plays on the need to see more of the food that made them cause such a reaction.
I mean, yeah, I guess. And I do support the main character of Food Wars because he is clearly an ADHD goofball. But I could not get into Food Wars because of the foodgasms. I'm not sorry.
Totally fair. It's so strange.
It is
not something
strange.
I thought I would watch, but Cam played it one day and then I couldn't stop. Like Maria said, I just couldn't stop.
Exactly. So that's how they drag you in. So knowing this, My Hero is a bit different than some of the other shonen first episodes. But it does take some of the different tropes. There's some comedy, some shock, and some is just playing into the viewer's emotions, making you want to see if this kid will really become a hero. And while it does have some uncomfortable subtext, it still manages to pull you in and keep you watching. This leads us into the next portion of the bonus episode, the thing that makes us super uncomfortable during the first two episodes, the Mr. Evil Sludge Monster.
Yes. All right. And we are going to go ahead and start with a disclaimer for the second half of this episode. Please note that the second half of this bonus episode contains potentially triggering material relating to, but not limited to, sexual assault, rape culture, and CSAM of teenage boys. We completely understand if you want to skip the rest of this episode entirely, and we love you for taking care of yourself. Just know that we will be discussing the sludge monster's attack through an academic lens, and will attempt to stay away from any graphic content. Thanks for listening, and please take care of yourself. All right, y'all, we're not going to spend too much time on what actually happened in the episodes themselves, because I believe we made our viewpoints very clear in the first two regular podcast episodes regarding the sludge villain's inherent rapiness. But we would like to take a look at how the audience views him coming from our shared raised female perspective, which is quite different than how he has been analyzed online in what we were able to find on him.
Yeah.
After a semi-deep dive into Google research, I found pretty much nothing on the fact that the sludge villain is essentially assaulting both Izuku and Katsuki in the infamous first two episodes. It can be extrapolated that the villain has also done this to others, since he seems to have a pretty good grasp of the method of attack. Granted, all three of us came into this fandom 4 years after it was first released, so this conversation may be happening in places we haven't yet plumbed, but the fact that it doesn't come up in these surface level searches is disappointing.
For sure.
Everyone knows manga and anime have a sexualization, violence, and CSAM problem. So the fact that all three of us found the scene to be very triggering while the internet says nothing about it shows just how steeped in rape culture the show and the surrounding industry is. We were all immediately struck by the invasive violence of the attack bodily and psychologically, even apart from the more horror tropey possession angle.
Yeah, speaking of horror tropes, there's a lot of material out there, academic material, written about various horror tropes, including possession. Several of them argue that the very idea of possession, both literal and figurative definitions, is inherently sexually violent, especially when it appears in horror content.
That's good to know. Yeah, I'm not really well versed in the like horror genre, so it's good to know that it's been discussed there too.
Oh, it's very much a hot button topic.
Yeah, this also goes to show the fact that we, as people who grew up seemingly feminine, could pick up on it immediately and realize that this type of behavior is not okay, and yet it's presented in a manner that is deemed quote unquote okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. This is not the only bad part of the scene in and of itself, but the ignorance can become willful at a certain point, and I think the
Mhm.
sludge villain attack is just that, willful ignorance. I want to believe that Horikoshi and his team knew what they were doing, introducing this terrible villain after seeing how this show has developed from a storytelling and almost psychological level, but they may also have just been playing into the common stereotype of violence begetting character development and sexual violence even more so.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it can be hard to figure out a creator's intentions sometimes, especially because we don't know what exactly comes from him, what comes from an editor, producer. I'm not entirely sure what the correct term is. And, what comes from internalized industry pressure that isn't as overt, but it still has an influence. But honestly, I agree. I think it's pretty clear that, for whatever reason, this was mostly done for shock value and to launch Bakugo's character arc.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, things like this are pretty common to set up characters. It sets it up to show that loss of power forces them to get stronger. But the sludge monster takes it to a whole nother level. At least in some of the other forms that it's been used, it isn't as invasive as trying to literally force himself on someone.
Now, Bakugo's character development in particular can be said to have been inspired by this attack and made it the cornerstone of his pursuit of power so that he never needs help again. Though there are certainly other relationships that have built up that psychological need in him, like before and after this attack. And we'll get to those in future regular episodes and maybe other bonus episodes as well. We'll also dive a bit deeper into his quirk as character theme of being so explosively strong that he can destroy anything that comes for him in upcoming episodes. But his character is so three-dimensional anyway that along with Izuku, this attack's level of rapiness was not necessary. Newsflash to Horikoshi, violence and sexual violence are not the only method of character development and definitely not near the best ones either.
Yeah, honestly, newsflash for every writer. This is far too common across all genres.
All of them, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And unfortunately, I tend to see it mostly in male writers.
Good point.
Yep. That's a big point to all of this. Yep. It seems pretty clear to me that the more visible parts of this fandom are coming in from a male or raised as male perspective. And those folks, whether they know or acknowledge it or not, come into the show with the blissful ignorance to rape culture that we as raised as women folks are incredibly steeped in from a young age. We noticed these rapey elements right off. And as adult viewers, we wished that the healing process was pursued more afterwards. Izuku and Katsuki desperately need therapy to heal from that trauma, even if they don't perceive it as sexual in nature, which is important too. We're not saying that they should or shouldn't view it as such, just that it can be viewed that way, particularly from the audience's standpoint. And offering these kids the counseling they need would have been a great addition to Horikoshi's continued trope flipping.
Yeah, speaking of that, so from what I can tell, the way rape culture manifests in the US and Japan seems to be pretty similar. For those who are new to this topic in general, rape culture specifically means that everyone in a society is directly impacted by sexual violence in one way or another because it's systemic, and that includes male or raised as male people. However, because rape culture and forced gender binaries go hand in hand, a general experience of this systemic sexual violence is split roughly two ways. And, I am making generalizations here, but there are two overarching categories. So people on the femme side of the binary typically experience sexual violence as an explicit and ever looming threat that you have to take into consideration at all times, in all moments, no matter what the context. It influences your every movement. However, for people on the mask side of the binary, the denial of sexual violence or false narratives, for example, I'm sure many people have heard the term, men can't be raped because, insert bullshit reason here. Mm-hmm. That's what's ever present. If it does happen, which it does, then it's shameful. And the fact that it happened could even be considered an attack on your very identity as a masculine person. So, that's even more, motivation to not acknowledge it. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because ironically, Horikoshi throwing this subplot in with no warning and then never explicitly revisiting it again is unintentionally a good example of how many male or racist male people deal with sexual violence in their own lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I completely agree with both of y'all. It sucks even now it's such a taboo subject. It needs to be talked about, which is exactly why we thought this section was so important.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And with all this included, coming back to the writing of the episode, it doesn't all have to be about the known and acknowledged superpower tropes being flipped and inverted. It can include the commentary that we've just mentioned. If a show has an opportunity to be forward-thinking and forward-looking, particularly one as popular and as basically a show that has touched so many nerves like MHA has, it should take full advantage of that and continue to contribute to the media's evolution. We know they know about these tropes because they are tiptoeing around them. Mm-hmm. And they actually start to step into them more fully, particularly with Aries' storyline and the increased pervert presence in the Vigilante spinoff.
Yeah, it's just odd that that kind of thing isn't included because Horikoshi has made a point of commenting on pretty much every other toxic aspect of society, including toxic masculinity and the ways people are hurt by all of those aspects. And that's like his whole thing. So it's notable that the only aspect he really hasn't explicitly addressed so far is sexual violence, even though he's included it in the narrative. Also, therapeutic methods differ from culture to culture, and it would be nice to see how that works from a Japanese perspective. And I can't believe that Horikoshi doesn't have anything to say about that. He has a lot to say about a lot of things, and he makes his point very well. And it would just be nice to include this.
So Japanese culture is very much about not airing out the dirty laundry.
Sounds familiar.
This is a problem they have. Horikoshi does hit on a lot of very important issues, but this seems to be the problem with all writers in Japan. There is a level of shame that is presented when talking about sexual assault that is prevalent pretty much throughout Japan. And also Japan has a form of soft sexual assault versus violent sexual assault, where many forms of sexual assault do happen, but the only real recognized statistics come from violent sexual assault, which happens less often.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I like the way that's put, like soft versus violent. Because like the US has the same distinction, but we haven't put it so neatly into words. So something people hear a lot is, well, if that's sexual assault, then every woman I know has been sexually assaulted. So like soft, quote unquote, sexual assault is what's normalized by society and treated as though it's not real, even though it is.
Yep. And on that note, if any Japanese listeners want to write in about their own experiences with mental health services in Japan, please do. Our experiences on therapy and counseling are very Western biased, and we are always happy and willing to learn more.
Yeah, please write in. We would love to get your input.
Yep. Now, all in all, we're just here to point out how much deeper the trauma goes if you care to look at it through this deeply analytical lens. Moreover, Izuku and Katsuki's traumas go a lot further than what is explored on page and in scene. Their character development shows that this event shook them to their core, playing out in Katsuki's pursuit to be the best, so he'll never be in that position again, which we did touch on in the second episode, and in Izuku's pursuit to be the best so the entire world can be better, which will be seen more as he gets used to his quirk and in later arcs. As a final note, we encourage our listeners to learn more about rape culture, as well as to get help if you need it. We particularly love the resources found on RAIN's website, rain.org, and that is RAIN with 2 N's. If you would like more information on the experiences specific to men and boys who experience rape and sexual assault, please check out 1in6.org, and that is the number 1, IN, the number 6.org. And if Japanese listeners have any resources that are specific to your culture and want to reach out, please let us know, and we will happily update our notes and our site as needed. If you have experienced or even think that you have experienced sexual violence at any level, we hope you can get the help you need. You are not alone, and it was not your fault. We love you.
Absolutely.
And we believe you.
Yes, we do believe you. Thank you for tuning in to our first bonus episode. As always,
it was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I mean, it started off kind of fun.
It did, yeah.
Yeah. First half was fun. Second half, not fun, but also I feel like it was necessary to talk about it.
100%.
Oh, yeah,
100%.
All right. Well, as always, go beyond plus ultra, especially on bonuses. Bye, y'all.
Thanks again for listening. If you'd like to get in contact with us, have questions you'd like us to discuss on air, give topic suggestions for bonus episodes, or submit fan art for us to display, visit our website at myheroanalysis.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Just search for @myheroanalysis. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review.